This is a little man floating in an ocean of abundance. And a lot about what economic independence is about just being in place and let the current and the flow just bring abundance around you. Once you begin to define what your time is worth per hour, you may choose to increase the number of hours you work per week, reduce the number of hours you work per week, or actually increase the fees that you charge or reduce the fees. It's having the reality check on what it is that you are doing, what it's worth, and how it relates to your personal needs, both physically and spiritually, that enable you to enter commerce in a very spiritually based way. Now, in order to do this, you also have to have a fundamental understanding of the role of money in the process, since the rate of exchange that most cultures use is based on money. Now, if we go all the way back to the beginning, of course we know that what happened, at least in our mythology, is that somebody had a tomato and probably somebody had a fur or a camel or fruit or some other food or tool and wanted a tomato. And the people who met did an exchange of a tomato for a tool. And this is the basic barter system. Of course, what happened over a period of time is it got a little complex, because tools, of course, could last for a long time, whereas a tomato might spoil, get rotten, get eaten by an animal. So systems needed to develop so that people could run together and have commerce and community with everyone's needs getting met and also being insured against loss of value. And money is what eventually came in the process. Now, I don't really want to go into the history of money per se, about how the actual physical money came about through carving of stones or metal, but I will say this much, that money, for it to be really valuable, has to be transferable. That one culture needs to be able to take money and convert it into that other culture's commerce. And we know that, of course, in the marketplace, the rates of exchange from yen and Deutschmarks and dollars. In addition to that, money is portable. You can take one piece of paper and put 1,000 on it, take another piece of paper of the same size and put a 1 on it, and as long as the government or the authority group in that culture supports and backs that currency, one piece of paper is worth $1,000 and another piece of paper may be worth $1. So money is portable, and that makes money useful in a way that carrying tomatoes in your pocket or trying to put a camel on your back and walk it across the desert because it's valuable would be somewhat hard to do. So as you can see, money has to be both transferable and also portable. Also, money does not age. Though its value does change, it's not going to rot. Sometimes you leave money in your pocket and you wash it in the laundry and it comes out and it's still money. Whereas many, many other things are perishable or break down or fall apart with time. So you can see that when you have a rate of exchange that requires timelessness, stability, portability, and transferability, that money's great. However, if those factors are not all required, what you have is a lot of entropy, a lot of lost energy. Money has to be stored, it has to be insured, it has to be reported, it has to be put together and filed. You have to hire security guards and computer systems to protect it. You have to have a lot of paper to report that it exists. So money has a lot of lost energy associated with it. And of course, most people use money because it's all they know. It's all they really understand in terms of commerce is using money. So the question becomes, how can you become economically independent without using money? And we're going to discuss that in a few minutes. But the key here is you must have a certain quality that is needed in order for money to be the key. And you can get things that you need to have or want to have without money and really be materially abundant, even if you don't have large amounts of cash. Now, from a religious perspective, I want to go back to Mount Sinai. In Judaism and Christianity and Islam, there's great importance made to the Moses on Mount Sinai and the children of Israel in the valley waiting for Moses to come down. And the covenant that was made there had to do with the creation of community. So one of the great things about becoming economically independent is that it's not so hard to do once you realize that what we need to have is community, and commerce is an essential offshoot of what happens when people enter into community. The culture supplies people's needs, individuals supply things to the culture, and they either get abundance as a group or individually in the process. And this relates to almost all religious traditions. So life on the material plane, if you will, is an abundant process. It is not a process of scarcity. And the idea that a person is poor or cannot get economic independence separate from acts of God or being in a situation where they just have such dire poverty there is no escape, except for those kinds of situations, and a key where we think about grace as the reason that we've been given poverty as a gift, that through our own choices, we have the ability to create abundance in our lives. And that is what I want you to do as the basis for this exercise. So please take a few minutes, sit down, and think of all the things that you need to have, and write them down. Then think about what you have to offer the world. What are your skills? Not the skills that you think you can make money on, just what are your skills? Maybe you have good social skills, you're a good communicator, you're fearless in front of an audience. There may be many, many different things that you have as natural gifts that you've never thought of. But every single person has a natural gift. Please sit down, take the time, and write down the list of the things that you do that are great gifts, and then come back to the tape. Welcome back. Now that you know a little more about yourself and what your natural gifts are, what I'd like you to do is think of somebody who is extremely successful in the area that you have a natural gift in. Whether it's a professional speaker, an artist, someone who does service to the world, is involved in community work, any particular area, and see what is it that they have done. Actually study them, read newspapers, biographies, get a sense of what they do and how they got there. This is called mirroring. It's used somewhat in neurolinguistic programming, which is a technique of personal development. There are a number of different ways of doing this, but the key goes back to the idea of don't reinvent the wheel. If you have an idea and you think it's unique, there's probably someone in the world who's done it on some level, though not as unique as your particular idea. You can use them as a modeling for what you want to do. So once you know who you are, then you have to actually create at least a psychological community of people who function at that same level. The key then is knowing who you are, having someone to mirror, and then creating an environment in your life that supports that process. What is the process? It's about taking the abundance that already exists but that you've never noticed before. I want to give you an exercise now. Close your eyes with me for just about 10 seconds. And pick a color. Focus on this color in your mind. And now open your eyes and look for that color around you. The chances are that the color is probably somewhere in front of your vision. Very interesting that doing this exercise without even knowing what color you were going to see afterwards and just placing that color in your mind, once you opened your eyes, the color was right there. By the way, if you haven't seen the color yet, look to the left a little bit, look to the right a little bit, look above you, look behind you. I'm sure that you will probably find the color or something very close to it. Abundance is the same way. Usually what happens is the thing that will create the abundance for you is right there, but you're looking and listening in the wrong direction. So one of the things that it's very important to do is surround yourself with the kind of environment that creates abundance. That includes things like reading motivational books, being around highly motivated people, but more than that, it means creating a community of people who are committed to abundance and actually have actualized that in their lives. For example, I belong to an organization called the National Speakers Association. I do public speaking in my work, And I have found that being a member of that organization has brought me in contact with people who do what I do, but do it on a level that has far surpassed anything I can even imagine doing until I met them. So what happens is, rather than being in an environment of people who are limiting me or tell me what I can't do or what's too unusual or it can't be done or it's not possible or I'm out of my league, I have people who are constantly supporting me, not just philosophically, but serving as role models of what I actually could do and need to do. So when you create a community of abundance, what you begin to do is act in ways that reflect that community.